Well, welcome everyone to this session of our Authors in Conversation series. And today I'm talking to Kate Toon. And what I want to say is that I had the great pleasure of being part of Kate's Digital MasterChef's Facebook group, which was the best thing I could have possibly done at the beginning of 2022. We're in 2023 now, aren't we? 2022, I was flat as a bloody tack. And, there's so much out there, though. Who knows what to choose? But for me, it was your kind of no bullshit approach, Kate, that I loved and that really just got me out of a big hole. So I very much appreciate.
Oh, thank you very much. That's lovely to hear.
What I'm excited about, though, is that your second book is about to come out.
Oh, very exciting. Yeah, so it's due to come out at the end of June. So if you're watching this before then, you can pre-order. And if you're watching this after then, you can order from the shops. Yeah, it's a big, really exciting for me. It's a, a long-held dream coming into reality. So I'm thrilled, to be honest.
Fantastic. And tell us all about the book. I know you've been very clear about your demographic, which is, it's a great thing to be, clear about who you're talking to. But yeah, just tell us all about it. You take this conversation wherever you like, Kate.
Oh, I won't waffle on too much. I should explain, by the way, if you're wondering what this strange thing in the background is, it's a large cardboard cutout of Benedict Cumberbatch, which of course every office should have. And I also realize I've worn a very inappropriate t-shirt on this session as well. It's an avocado.
Oh, look, we're not too precious here.
Okay, good. All right, so sorry.
That's
the
a
book,
great t-shirt.
isn't it great?
I
The book is called Six Figures in School Hours: How to Run a Successful Business and Still Be a Good Parent. And it's all about, tactics and tips to really, make the most of the time that we have, the precious time that we have. It's broken down into core sections around mindset, productivity, money, communication, getting your family involved, and self-care. So, which I think are the kind of the core elements of success. And it's not really any kind of get rich quick scheme or super slippery funnel methodology. It's around lots of tiny shifts that add up to a bigger whole. It's about mopping up the crumbs rather than trying to grow after the whole loaf, and I've weaved in some of my experience, but also weaved in a lot of experience of other people, men and women, who have children and who are, going through that difficult stage of trying to grow their family and grow their business at the same time.
Fantastic. What would be your top 3 tips, do you reckon?
I think the first one would be mindset related.
Yes.
You've got to get rid of the parental guilt idea. You've got to stop putting your business in conflict with your family and feeling like it's a wrestling match, and accept that it's okay to work. Most people do. And probably most people work a lot longer hours than you, and their children spend a lot less time with their parents than yours. So you've got to get over that guilt mindset. And there's some tips and tactics around that, because otherwise everything else is flawed. The next one for me, the big one, is to really be honest about the time you have to work. You think you have between pick up and drop off. You don't. By the time you've gone to Coles, put the washing machine on, if you take away all your toilet breaks and lunch breaks, and the fact that you're just a human being, you're probably going to drop that right down to about 15 hours a week. And that's considering billable time, because it's not that every minute we sit at our desk, we're doing stuff that earns us money. Again, our mind wanders. We look at social media, we do other things. So being really clear about the time you have, because that then enables you to be really realistic about what you can achieve. Because what I find is a lot of parents are constantly beating themselves up. And it's because they've set their expectations too high. I've got 30 hours a week. I should be able to do this. Well, no, your logic is flawed right from the get-go. You only ever had 15. You were never going to be able to achieve that. And if you go in from that negative mindset of I'm always chasing my tail, I've never finishing my list, to I can only do 2 things today, but I'm going to do them and tick them off. It just changes your whole approach to things.
I love that. And then, if you're practical, you can hold yourself accountable.
Exactly.
Versus at the end of the day beating yourself up, which does nobody any good.
No, you want to sit in a positive mindset as much as you can, And the final one, so we talked about mindset, we talked about time. The final one would be around money. like really doing the boring, tedious work of looking at your family budget, looking at your business budget. How much money do you need to break even? And then how much money would do you want to make on top of that? And once you've worked out, you know, the kind of the base elements, and then you've worked out the cream, what are you willing to exchange for that cream? Because it's going to be an exchange, right? So yes, you could earn $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 more a month, but what are you giving up for that? And is it worth it? And is it in direct conflict with your values as a parent? You know, because if it is, you may just have to earn that money over a longer time period. You can have it all, but just not today. So I think that's the thing, understanding the exchange, no matter if you've got passive income or you charge a high rate or whatever, there is always a point where it's like, do I go in now and spend time with the family, or do I keep on going? And only you can make that call.
Too true. And that question of values as well, the values with the family, but also the values in yourself.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
don't think that you have to sell yourself out, because that's something I hear, you know, oh, I don't want to be one of those sleazy salespeople. Well, what's sleazy about selling something that is going to help somebody?
Yeah, exactly. You know,
know?
someone has the analogy I've heard is someone has a disease and you are the cure. Someone has a problem and you are the solution. And you're a paid solution because your time is worth money. And someone has a decision to make about whether they want to pay you or not. But, you know, at the end of the day, we all need people to help us. I'm trying to work on a project today, and I've been trying to do it. I've been trying to work on it for weeks and it hasn't happened. And then yesterday I found somebody who does that. That's what they do for a living. And literally her coming into my life, you know, that noise when the angels sing and it's like, ah, and she sent me her invoice. And was it cheap? No. Was it a bit of a stretch? Yes. But did I sign it off immediately and say, go for it? Yes, because she was absolutely taking pain out of my life. I have a problem. She is the solution. And I'm happy to give her the money to take that pain away. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's very much worth it. The money was well spent. And
exactly.
This is great. This is great, Kate. Now, how about your journey as an author? Would you talk a little bit about that? Because this is your second book. And what have you learned between the first and the second?
Well, it's actually my fourth book, but
Great.
yeah, I've done a
You're on
few.
there.
Yeah. So look, I've always wanted to be a writer, you know, since I was a child, you know, notepads full of daft stories and whatever. And in reality, I obviously would like to be a novelist. And, you know, I've got a big thing about young adult novels that I would like to write. And, you know, those are my favorite. If I go back, I must have read my Judy Blumes 100 times. And I, you know, have dabbled in writing throughout my career. I'm a copywriter. I worked in advertising agencies. My business that I have today is founded in copy. And probably as a business owner, I write maybe 10,000 words a week when it comes down to social media and posts and emails. So I'm constantly writing. But the problem is sometimes when you use your writing creative energy in your work, there's nothing left for outside of that. So right now, I'm not in a financial position to be able to give it all up and become a novelist. So I'm trying to work books into my business strategy so that they feed the business. And so ultimately I can give this all up, go and live in a yurt and write my novels. So yes, it's my fourth book. My first book was a book of poetry. It was called Gondotti, which I self-published, you know, purely fun. My next book was a children's book. It's called Wobbly Jim. Yeah, that was crowdfunded and self-published, and, you know, it's done okay. And then my next book was my original book, which is Confessions of a Misfit Entrepreneur, which was back in 2017. It's a long time ago. And then this book now. And what have I learned between all the processes? I think discipline. Discipline is what I've learned. And now this book, I'm working with a publisher, and it's a whole different ball game. There's like a level of professionalism and, you know, really thinking about the core audience, who's going to buy this. Like, it's not just going to be my people. This is going into WH Smith's. How can I write something that random people who've never heard of me want to buy? So it's been amazing. Working with my publisher has been one of the best personal development things I've ever done. And I've loved the process. It's been very hard, but I've loved it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I know people will be wanting me to ask, but I want to know as well, how did you snag a publisher? How did that come about?
Yeah, look, you know, I was very anxious about it. You know, I put off doing this for years because if I heard a no, what will I do with that? You know, This is all I want to do in my life. So if someone says no, I don't know what I'll do. And it happened to me last year. So I had a different idea for a different book called Be More Shark. And I actually met with the kind of commissioning editor, Pam McMillan. And she, she liked it, but she was like, you know what, it was about fear in business. And she said, probably, you need to be more of a psychologist to write that. In retrospect, I don't agree, because I was never claiming to be a psychologist. I could have written it from the business owner's perspective, right? And brought psychologists in. But her no stopped me in my tracks. I'd gone really far with that book. I'd written half of it. I'd done the cover ideas, whatever, stopped me in my tracks. And I didn't write again for another year. So no's are powerful, because it just, it was like, if they don't think it's any good, it isn't any good. But then I just I saw it was really a friend of mine. I saw her publishing her book, and I was a bit like, if she can do it, she's not even a writer. If she's doing this, I can do this. So I very quickly thought, I'm going to do this. I have a member of my community, Caroline Malloy, who's a US book coach. She helped me pull together my pitch. Gosh, it was awful. I was an awful, awful client. I whinged every like when you go and get a personal trainer, but you don't really want to do exercise, and the personal trainer's like, do 20 sit-ups, and you're like, yeah, what are you? It's like that the whole way through. I was obnoxious. I had to send Caroline an apology email at the end, but we managed to pull together a pitch. I sent it to 4. I did a lot of research. I looked at all who my friends were. I looked at Wiley and Major Street and Murdoch Books and Hardy Grant, because they seem to publish businessy books. I spoke to friends who's published with them. Kate Christie was very helpful. Mel Schilling from Maths helped me as well. Got a lot of help from nice people. Kelly Irving, who's also a book coach. So got a lot of help, got the names of the people, sent it off. Murdoch Books said no immediately. Hardy Grant never replied. Wiley said it didn't see how I, as a SEO and copywriter, could write this book, but I think didn't know me that well, but it was fine. But then I didn't care by that point, because Major Street said yes straight away. And I love Leslie. I don't know if she'll ever see this, so it might be embarrassing, but Leslie, who runs Major Street Books, she's just my people, and she's just great. And she's been so encouraging, and I'm so grateful that they took me on. So how did I get it? I tried. I sent it off.
That's it. And you paid for help.
I did.
Somebody who knew what they were doing. So
I did.
That's a big piece, isn't it?
It is. And it wasn't dramatically expensive. Do you know what I mean? I'd probably say, Caroline, I did this auction to raise money for the Ukraine, and Caroline put a coaching package up, and I bid on it. So, but I probably think you'd be looking at maybe $1,000 to $2,000, which sounds like a lot, to get a coach to help you really interrogate your idea, pull together the chapter summaries, the comparison books, some audience stuff. And I think that money is super worth it.
That's great.
Rather pay that money than get rejection after rejection after rejection, I think. Yeah.
And what have you got planned in terms of pre-launch strategy, launch strategy? I love always going into the
well, I'm a marketeer, so I think this is the bit where I can thrive. So I have very early on, I put up a sales page on my site with information about the book, what I had, with a dummy cover, because obviously there was no cover. I put together packages, so incentive packages for the pre-sale. If you buy 3 books, you get this. If you buy 5 books, you get that. If you buy 25 books, you get this. So that's encouraged lots of people to buy chunks of books, buy 5 at a time, 10 at a time. I've set up a podcast. So I've done a podcast with the same title as the book, and that's running now with ads in it to pre-purchase the book. I've put together a media kit and a press release. And then I'm doing a lot of just general content marketing, and I'm being a bit quirky. I did a graphic which had my book in like a crisp dispensing machine, and I pretended I'd installed it in my local station in Woy Woy, which is like a backwards place, and lots of people believed it was real. It was just photoshopped. And then I did another one the other day with Ryan Gosling lying down with my book on him, obviously photoshopped. And again, people were like, how did he get an advance copy? And I'm like, it's not real. So some quirky things. And then I've organized book launches, which are big costs. So I'm having a book launch in Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, Adelaide, and then PR after that, just trying to get into publications, onto podcasts, wonderful experiences like this. Who knows? Who knows? But the biggest
That's
thing, Jane,
right.
and I think you'll know this too, is distribution.
Oh, yes.
So it's the hardest part, which is really why I wanted a publisher. I
Mm.
tell you, my sole egotistical, pathetic goal for this book is to be able to walk into WH Smith's at the airport and see my book. That happens, I think I can just die on the spot. It's my dream come true, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I also other things like Kmart and Target, you know, that's a perfect book. And boy, are you gonna move some stock
I
there.
hope so. But you know,
Yeah.
I think I've sold about 4,000 copies of this
Yes.
over
Mm.
6 years.
Mhm.
Hard yakka, conferences, whatever.
Mm.
But you know, the whole getting them into bookshops, you know, for those who don't know, if you're self-published, you know, you have to approach the bookshop, you have to send the book. Most of them will take it on consignment. So they only give you the money once they've sold it, which can take years. So,
Mm.
you know, I think I got a payment for a couple of books I put in Dymocks in 2018 last week. You know,
Right. Oh, you're lucky they didn't send them back because
I know
it's often sale or return arrangements,
exactly.
isn't
And
it?
then you've got to pay to get them there.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's so much time. And so distribution is the big thing here. And one of the great things is that Big W have agreed to stock my book. So it is one of the, you know, I think I'm a more of a Kmart girl, but I'm team Big W right now. But
That's
again,
it. Go.
to walk into Big W and see your book, I mean, geez, Louise. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be speechless. I think I'll cry.
Mm, mm. You'd be entitled to cry, I reckon.
Yes, yeah,
But back to also Misfit Entrepreneur,
yeah.
one of the great things, now this is such a no-brainer of a strategy, but somebody like you running those programs, and for
Oh,
me, it
yeah.
was, well, what was I, what one was I in actually?
It's now called the Digital Marketing Collective. So it's a
Okay, and that's why I
membership.
got a
It's a
little
membership.
confused because it
Yeah,
was
I changed the
yeah,
name. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, after signing up, not expecting it, and going to the letterbox, and hey, here's something for me. I didn't order anything, and I open it, and it's a copy of the book, and that, you know, that cost you very little in the way of money. It
Mm,
cost you the brain power to do it, but it
mm,
built loyalty
mm.
like nothing else can.
I
So,
know it's interesting. I mean, obviously, in the early days of the book, I had a very different mentality that I wanted to try and claw back the
mm,
money I had spent on the book. And I think this is the biggest lesson I can pass on to people, that the money that you spend on the book, you will not necessarily make it back from the book directly. And that is the
no,
biggest mistake. So, you know, I see self-published authors putting their book up at like $45 a copy. And it's like, no one's, unless they are your people, like your sister-in-law, no one's paying $45 for a book by you obscure person. And when I see people doing that, I'm like, you're trying to make your money back from the book. That's not the goal. And I didn't get that. And even now I struggle because these launches are costing me a fortune. And I'm like, well, you know, I'm charging people to come to them. It's very low. It's like $17. And I'm partially doing that because I know from running events that people don't come unless they have a bit of money.
exactly.
But
Yep.
does that $17 cover the cost? No, because each person who comes costs me $75. So it's
Wow.
yeah, because of food and drink and the venue and the book, you know. But it's a PR exercise.
It is.
And
Yes.
as you said, now with the first book, they're almost like sexy business cards to send out. It's almost like having a branded, you know, water bottle that you would give out to people at a conference. But it's so much more powerful, because to read my book, I'd say if you're a fast reader, maybe take you 8 hours, you know, maybe. And someone spending 8 hours with you, when do you get to do that in real life? Never.
Yeah.
They're right inside. They're either going to love you or hate you by the end of it, but
Mm.
they know you, you
Mhm.
know, because I put a lot of little personal snippets in, and I think it's invaluable. So, but you have to have that mindset of, I will not make the money back from the book. I will make it back. Like, I just need one person to sign up to my membership, and that pays for one of my launches. Do you see what I mean? So
That's
yeah,
it. Exactly.
yeah.
Where's your Sydney launch?
Oh, it's in near Central Station. Are you coming, Jane? Are you gonna
I'm
come?
coming. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So again, and that's leveraging a partnership that I have with a brand called Henry, who are a finance software, and they're lovely people. And I said, could I host my book launch in your offices? And they've actually given me the space for free. So, you know, leveraging partnerships as well. All of this is stuff that I could not have done in 2017. You know, I was at the start of really my business journey. I had a young kid. I was the target audience for my current book.
That's why you're the expert in it.
Yeah. And I think, it takes a while to build up momentum. So, why did my book get accepted by Major Street? Partially because I have X amount of followers on blah, 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 which is awful. And it feels like a closed door. But why do TV presenters and radio presenters get their book published and great writers don't? Because they built up awareness, and publishers need to make money. Books are hard to make money on and hard to sell. And they need to be sure that there's a little bit of an audience there. Because I read some statistics, Jane, and you probably know better than me, but the average self-published book sells maximum 200 copies.
Yes.
In Australia, it only takes 4,000 copies to be considered a bestseller. And in America, it only takes selling 6,000 copies in the first month to become a New York Times bestseller. Now, those figures, I can't verify them. They're things I've heard, but they are a lot smaller than I thought. Like I would have thought to be a bestseller in Australia, it would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000. But no. So I think that's quite telling,
It is indeed. Yes, yes. It's not easy to move. The take-home message here. So
yes.
yes, so the rationale has to be really solid. You do your ROI and you get really clever. So this is just so helpful that you've shared all of those things that you're doing. And on the point of Kate Christie, and I tell my people to watch Smart People.
Yes, she's very smart.
One of the people I tell them to watch.
Thank you.
Kate Christie is doing her global book launch tonight.
Yes.
And so I'll be on that and I'll be watching how she does that. And I've told everybody, watch Kate Christie. And now the two Kates, though, you guys, what a powerhouse.
Well, I feel like Kate's who I want to be when I grow up. So she's a little...
I choose to be either of you two.
Oh, thank you. Well, gosh, what I love about Kate Christie is she is so generous. I mean, who am I to Kate Christie? We've met once, I think, or twice, briefly. And, I approached her and said, I see you published with Wiley. Could you give me some advice? And she was like, I could, rather than typing a message, do you want to get on a call? And she has been so generous and helpful. And on the flip side, I've shared her book and I've done whatever. And I'm ride or die for Kate. I'm on team Kate Christie now. But yeah, I think that's great advice. Look at what other people are doing. How are they marketing their book? What can you be inspired by? Obviously, you don't want to be copy it. I don't want to see anyone putting Ryan Gosling in their Instagram right now.
Right. Folks, you're warned. Kate will be if you do that.
But, there's a level of sophistication. And, Kate's hosting her book launch with Andrew Griffith, who's obviously famous. So, again, I hate the word leverage. It sounds so ridiculous, but who in your world can help you? You'll be surprised how, Mel Schilling, who's one of the judges on Married at First Sight. I don't know her at all, but I follow her. I think she's great, a bit of a fangirl. Messaged her straight away. She's like, oh my God, I love your stuff on Instagram. She sent my pitch off to her editor at Murdoch Books. I mean, they said no, but who am I to her? So while you don't want to take advantage of people, I think people are a lot more willing than you think to help. It doesn't take 5 minutes to give someone a little point in the right direction.
Exactly. There might be some bad eggs out there, but by and large, people are generous. We have a generosity of spirit because
I think so.
We're part of a collective,
And and we're not competing with each other. Like Kate Christie generously helped me. Our books are not competing. And the thing is, even if you both wrote a book about the exact same topic, guess what? People buy more than one book. Exactly. I've got millions of books,
I can't tell you how many mindset related books I've got.
Exactly.
Yes. No, there's never going to be too many books in a topic area. That's for sure. Yeah. Well, Kate, thank you so much for sharing all of this. In terms of generosity, you've really given my followers a whole lot to be thinking about. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful.
Thank you.
Just exactly where can they pre-order a copy of your book?
Well, you can either Google Kate Toon and you'll find my website, or the book is called sixfiguresinSchoolHours.com. And this is my final tip, Jade. When you are researching your book title, Google it. Yeah. So I Googled my book title relentlessly because I wanted to make sure it was virgin territory. There is no book called anything near that, which meant I could buy the domain name. So I have www.sixfiguresinSchoolHours.com. And therefore I can use that on all my marketing everywhere. So try to find a book title that hasn't been done and also that's not close to someone else's, which is damn hard. I'm just writing my next book, Jane. I've already started the next one. And the title, I literally maybe Googled 230 different titles till I found one that no one else had used before. So I think that's super important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, Kate, great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.